Today we present The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. But first, let's talk about the author. Robert Louis Stevenson. Robert Louis Stevenson was born in November 1850 and he died in December 1894. He was a Scottish novelist and travel writer, most noted for Treasure Island, Kidnapped, Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and Child's Garden of Verses. Now let's talk about the characters. As the main characters, we have Dr. Henry Jekyll and Mr. Edward Hyde, which in this case makes the character as an antagonist of the story. Another very important character is Mr. Gabriel John Utterson. He is very important in this story because he is the narrator. He is a prominent and upstanding lawyer, well respected in the London community. As a secondary character, we have Dr. Happy Lanyon, Mr. Poole. Also, there is Mr. Enfield, Mr. Getz, and Sir Danvers Carew. The setting of this story takes place in London, England, and also it mentions that the time is in October 18. The theme of this story deals with those feelings that we have as humans, the way of being that normally overwhelms us with happiness and positivity, and the other part, somewhere deep inside our being, we are devils. Another theme on this story is the importance of reputation, how the people from our surroundings have their own thoughts about us. And now we are going to discuss the plot. On his weekly walk with his friend and kinsman Enfield, Mr. Utterson, a lawyer friend himself, standing in front of a dark and mysterious door on an otherwise nice street. Enfield relates that the man who knocked the girl over was named Hyde. With the information from Enfield, Utterson grows increasingly concerned about his friend Dr. Jekyll, who had recently changed his will to instruct that if anything happened to him, everything should be given to Hyde. Late one night, a maid of Dr. Jekyll witnesses the brutal beating murder of Sir Danvers Carew by Edward Hyde. Utterson goes to Jekyll, who assures him that Hyde is gone for good. He gives Utterson a letter from Hyde, which Utterson later suspects Jekyll has forget. Jekyll's servants are frightened by things that they heard and seen in Jekyll's laboratory, so they summon Utterson. They knock down the door to the laboratory and find Hyde dead from poison. After Hyde's disappearance, Jekyll sends a desperate letter to Dr. Lanyon, begging him to get a drawer from his laboratory. Hyde comes to pick it, mixes up the contents, and drinks the mixture. He transforms into Henry Jekyll in front of Lanyon's eye. Lanyon is so distraught that he dies a few weeks later. He relates all of these events to Utterson in a letter to be opened only in death or disappearance of Dr. Jekyll. Utterson next reads a letter from Dr. Jekyll, which was left to him in the laboratory, along with the new copy of Jekyll's will, leaving everything to Utterson. Through various experiments, he unleashed Mr. Hyde, who is pure evil and thrilling to be. Eventually, however, Hyde begins to take over Jekyll, and Jekyll begins to fear and hate him. At the end of the story, Jekyll refuses to change into Hyde for about 2 months, but soon the temptation takes back over. Suppressed for so long, Hyde, in a rage, murders Sir Carew. This scares Jekyll into killing Hyde off for good, but eventually he gives into temptation again. After this, Hyde begins to take over Jekyll every few hours, and Jekyll runs out of the salt for the solution. He leaves the letter and changed will for Utterson, knowing that Henry Jekyll will soon be gone forever.